Hi, this is Ian Wright, and Saturday Night Live meditation. And we're just going to do another meditation. I think I've done one of these before, but based around the observer and just bringing us into contact with and trying to just get a feeling sense, a felt sense of what is the observer? What is that essential quality of us that is engaging with the world? And sometimes if we can get a sense of that, it can kind of free us from some of the limitations I think we apply through conceptualizing the world, and the sort of limited perception we have of our neurology reading our senses and monitoring them and applying a value judgment on each sense. So each thought, each feeling, each sensory impression is filtered through our consciousness. What makes up our consciousness? It's to do with a lot of different threads, our beliefs, our memory, our understanding, our conceptual understanding of the world. So you have a sensory field, you have a filter, which is our neurology, and you have an interpretation. So two people could witness something similar, say a flower, and there is an entirely different perceptual as how do we know how anybody sees, say, the colour blue? We don't. We have our own interpretation. In some ways it doesn't matter. It's perceptual. So let's do a little meditation based around that we can get maybe a little bit of more kind of thinking around our observer and what or who it is. So close your eyes, get yourself comfy, and let's bring our attention, because our attention is really where our observer is. So bring out your attention to, for example, your hand, your right hand. Bring your attention to your hand. What does your hand feel like? Now, normally we don't really feel what our hand feels like unless it's in pain or unless we're touching something. We don't, because if we have a consciousness of all this sensory information, all of our brains will be overloaded. We have to screen and filter out all of our perceptual awareness so that we're actually reading very simple things like what is a threat and what is a pleasure, for example. That's basic fundamentals. You know, we either move towards nurture or move away from threat. This is a fundamental part of ourselves. So taking that aside, just bring your attention to your right hand. What's really interesting, isn't it? As soon as you bring your attention to your hand, it starts tingling. It's like it has this quality of aliveness that it immediately brings it to. It's like the energy starts flowing into it, or some sort of vascularity wakes up, blood supply. Okay, that's fine. Let go of that for a second. Now just bring your attention to your breathing. Don't change your breathing, just witness it. Witness your breathing. If you can breathe through your nose, get a sense of the air touching the roof of the nose as it comes in, or in through the nostrils. Just watch your breath for a few seconds. It doesn't really matter how you're breathing. You can watch your breath while you're sprinting or while you're just dropping off asleep. They're very different. It doesn't matter. They both function and they're both supplying you with the oxygen. you need from a metabolic level for your each cell function. So here what we do is we apply a non-judgmental view on whatever we feel for the purpose of meditation. So we don't mind, it doesn't matter how we're breathing. It's fine, it's all perfectly okay. It's just to do with placing our attention on our breath. And if you place your attention on the out-breath, for example, see how that feels. And if you place your attention on that sense of quietening that happens in your body on your out-breath, see what that does. So now maybe shift your attention to a quality of quietness that's behind the sounds that are around you. But it's developing in the room as you still yourself, as you become more still. The room becomes more still. You feel a quality, you can feel a quality of stillness in the room. Now, how can we feel that? We're not looking at it, we're not really listening to it. We're feeling it, and we can feel easily the room, can't we? We can open our attentional awareness, our feeling sense, and feel the room. So just observe this. And observe doesn't necessarily mean with your eyes. It can mean your eyes. It can mean with your ears, but it can mean your feelings, your felt sense, this feeling quality. Which is bigger than one sense. It feels bigger. It feels more than one sense. It encompasses your senses. So this part of you that is sensing, feeling, observing, in a bigger sense of observing, the quietness in yourself and around you. What or who is that is witnessing that? Who is the witness? Who is placing that attention? Well, it's you, isn't it? But it's maybe something bigger than this small ourselves that we perceive on our day-to-day level. It's a bigger you. It's much, much bigger, isn't it? Much. But what qualities does this observer have? This observer of the stillness? Well, the first quality it has is it's perfect. The observer is not sad or sick or even happy. It just is. It's observing. It observes happiness. It observes suffering. But it's not suffering at all, or joy. It's perfect as it is. Untouchable, unmutable. How can it be? Because it's the observer. But is that observer something bigger? Our real, true self is that observer, isn't it? So when you say, I am not my pain, I am not my suffering, I'm not even my joy, I'm none of those, but I am the observer of those, and that observer is perfect, unerringly perfect. You could say that's my spirit, could you? Maybe. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe it is, there is a wholeness or a oneness to that, of which we're part. Maybe. And allow your observer, which is your attention, to be free. Let it move where it wants to move. Let your attention be on my voice, on the quietness which is around and between my words, on the stillness that's in the room, on the quiet that's in you. So it's a kind of good way of, if you're in a lot of pain or a great deal of anxiety or something, both those things are, when they can feel overwhelming, you can slip into a place of going, okay, I'm just watching whatever is, whatever happens, I'm watching it. But the observer, if you can train someone to actually observe and not be the pain, not be the anxiety, it's hard to do at the beginning. But with work, you disidentify with it a little bit, and well, hopefully the goal is to reconnect with some peace. So it's a meditative technique, but I think it can have practical uses. Anyways, I wish you well. Have a good week. I'll come back with something different, hopefully next week. And I'm being interviewed tomorrow night on a craniosacral podcast based in America. Well, anyway, we'll let you know about that when that comes out. I don't know if it's coming out live, but I will let you know, and we'll put it out. Anyway, have a good week. I wish you well.